It's good to have you join us. My name is Felicity Ezewike. We begin tonight by telling you that the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC in Nigeria, has declared Yahaya Bello wanted for an alleged financial crime to the tune of 80.2 billion naira. Nigeria's anti-corruption agency called on those with vital information about the former Kogi governor's whereabouts to reach the commission or the police. The EFCC said former Kogi State Governor Yahaya Bello is wanted by the EFCC for offences relating to economic and financial crimes to the mentioned tune. To discuss this further, I am joined by the Commissioner for Information and Communications in Kogi State, Kingsley Fowle. Kingsley, thank you very much for joining us. We appreciate your time, sir. Let's begin by getting your response to the EFCC declaring Yahaya Bello wanted.
Hey, thank you very much for having me, and thank you viewers around the world. For me, I think it's the height of impunity to do such a thing. We have subsisting order restraining the EFCC from doing such. They appealed it, and the appeal is to be heard on Monday. So it means they don't even have confidence in the appeal that they filed at the Court of Appeal. For them to put all of this aside and declare him wanted is the height of impunity.
Is it impunity when he was invited and efforts to get him to come to court failed? Is that still impunity, or is there something that we're missing?
There is a restraining order, even prior to the invasion of his residence yesterday. There was a restraining order from a competent court of jurisdiction restraining the EFCC from doing anything as such. Therefore, if you are asking him to go to EFCC to submit himself, you are also urging him to contravene that restraining order from
But there are two court orders here. One came before the one you're referring to, restraining the EFCC, came earlier. The one from the EFCC is the one that we have now. So isn't there some conflict somewhere? Which should supersede, do you think?
For you to be able to set aside the ruling or the decision of a court, you don't go for the same court of coordinate jurisdiction. They should have gone to a higher court, which they rightly did by approaching the Court of Appeal. But before the Court of Appeal could rule, they went to a coordinate court of jurisdiction to go and obtain an order to arrest the governor. But there was a ruling yesterday by the Kogi State High Court, which also restrained the EFCC from taking such actions. So the only court that can set that aside is not a court of coordinate jurisdiction, but a higher court, which is the appeal court. One will think that if those allegations are genuine and they are not politically motivated, the EFCC would have waited until Monday to see how the Court of Appeal would decide the suit. They filed before the Court of Appeal. So for them to contravene that amounts to contempt of court.
So, but there are people who are asking, why is the former governor resisting answering to the EFCC, especially if he is innocent? If he is innocent, there is nothing that the EFCC can do, can they?
It's not just about whether he's innocent or not, but also about following due process, about the rule of law, about constitutionalism. Those are the things that are key, and whether those allegations are even anything to go by. For instance, the first charge, they were charging him for stealing 84 billion naira in September 2015, and he was sworn in January 2016. So you're indirectly saying he stole money running into billions 3 months before he was sworn in. He was not an appointee of government. I did not do any contract with the government. So it is obvious that what the FCC is doing is not fighting corruption, but trying to harass, intimidate, and victimize Alhaji Yahaya Bello for reasons that they will have to tell Nigerians.
So I'm still asking, I think there's a part of this question that I think you haven't answered. If these, you said, the allegations came before he became governor, Why not just show up to the EFCC?
I've answered that it's not a matter of innocence, but a matter of due process. The police cannot just come to your house to say they want to check your house, and you open your door without a warrant coming from a competent court of jurisdiction. It is not about whether he's innocent or not. Everyone knows that he's innocent. He cannot steal. There was no way he would have stolen money 3 months before he got into office. And there was no way he would have stolen money in February 2016, just 3 weeks after he took over the office. So we Nigerians know the truth about this matter. So it's a matter of due process. You have to follow due process. It's not
okay. So if the court, okay, sorry to
interrupt. There is nothing restraining the EFCC. He would have submitted himself to the EFCC if they follow due process. It's about due process.
So are you assuring Nigerians that if the court processes, if, for instance, a court of higher jurisdiction asks that he appears, he will submit himself to the EFCC?
Definitely he will submit himself. It is not, this thing is is straight, and it's something that every well-meaning Nigerian understands exactly what is happening. You are charging him for stealing 84 billion naira in September 2015. He assumed office in 2016. They have amended it now to February 2016, 3 weeks after he took office. So every Nigerian understands the truth. So nobody's afraid of anything about the case. The point is that due process, rule of law, constitutionalism must be followed. And every creation of the law must learn to respect the law. That's very important, and that's the point that the former governor is trying to prove here.
All right, thank you very much for speaking with us. We appreciate your time.
Thank you very much for having me.
Nigeria's Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission, also known as the ICPC, has pledged to use technology in combating and ending graft in the nation's public sector. This was as the chairman of the commission received the Minister of Interior in Abuja as he sought a partnership between the commission and the ministry to end public service corruption. My colleague Amadine Uyi tells us more.
It was a visit by the Minister of Interior, accompanied by the heads of paramilitary agencies under the ministry. The minister, while expressing concern over the effects of corruption, says that collaborating with the commission is key.
The Ministry of Interior is responsible for the enhancement of internal security. And of course, corruption is one of the biggest threats to security in Nigeria. So therefore, we don't need to move too far before we get to the point of intersection where our interests do meet. And we believe that in leveraging and collaborating with ICPC, we might just be saving our country from a lot of effort that is needed in righting the wrongs.
He adds that a partnership between both agencies can set up a template for a more transparent and accountable public service.
All over the world, the language is proactiveness. The language is prevention. The language is no more detection or correction. The world is moving, and it's moving so fast. And the language of the next generation, which we must learn as a country, is to build strong institutions and not strong men.
The chairman of the commission admitted that the work of fighting graft is cut out for the commission, as it is determined to ensure that Nigeria wins.
We are trying as much as possible to see that we discharge our mandate within the confines of the law in order to ensure that we have Nigeria which is less corrupt, and a country whereby people have confidence within and outside the country.
He adds that the commission has resolved to deploy technology in its effort to rid the nation of graft.
We are going to look at closely the issue of how to use technology, both of us, in combating some of the corrupt practices, because in this new era, you can't ignore technology, because that is where the world is going now, because you cannot be everywhere.
The minister and the ICPC resolved to forge a common front in fighting corruption. This followed the minister's request for the deployment of ICPC officers to the ministry and amongst its parastatals to ensure that any act of corruption is nipped in the bud. In Abuja for News Central, I am Amadine Uyi.
Anti-corruption civil society organizations in Nigeria have advised the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission not to desecrate the courts in the course of carrying out its constitutional role of fighting corruption. The CSO and Human Rights Crusaders cautioned the EFCC and other anti-graft agencies against trampling on the rights of supposed suspects of corruption in order to avoid breaking a law to enforce another law. The activist, who spoke at a press briefing in Lagos on Thursday, noted specifically that the recent public face-off between the EFCC and a former governor of Kogi State, Yahya Bello, in Abuja was both unnecessary and unfortunate. The executive chairman of the Center for Anti-Corruption and Open Leadership, Debo Adeniran, who addressed the press, suggested that the rush by the EFCC to make an arrest when the Court of Appeal hearing on its application to vacate the restraining order was just in a few days might give credence to allegations of political persecution.
The EFCC to revert to status quo antebellum pending the determination of its own appeal and an evocation of the restraining order placed on it by the High Court, the State High Court in Lokoja. They should wait for it. Why are they in a hurry?
The ruling All Progressive Congress has petitioned the Inspector General of Police, Kayode Egbetokun, asking him to go after 9 suspects believed to have masterminded the suspension of its national chairman, Abdullahi Ganduje, at the ward level in Kano State. The 2-page petition, which was made public on Thursday, was written by the APC National Legal Advisor, Professor Abdul Karim Kana. The development comes in the wake of a court order secured by Ganduje at the Federal High Court in Kano to halt his purported suspension. The ruling was given on Wednesday after Ganduje filed an ex parte motion seeking to enforce his fundamental right to a fair hearing. The National Executive Committee of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, has called upon President Bola Tinubu to undertake an immediate overhaul of his economic team, citing urgent measures needed to salvage the nation's economy. The demand was articulated in a communique issued following the conclusion of the 98th NEC meeting held in Abuja. The PDP emphasized the critical need for President Tinubu to appoint individuals of impeccable integrity and proven competence, devoid of bias or vested interests, to aid in the revitalization of the economy. Furthermore, the party expressed concerns over existing policies and programs that are perceived to stifle economic growth, worsening the hardship faced by citizens. In addition to economic reforms, the NEC urged President Tinubu to swiftly convene a special National Security Council meeting to address the escalating insecurity plaguing the nation. Staying with that NEC meeting, the NEC of the PDP has tasked party faithful to unite and work towards the success of the party for the benefit of Nigerians. Members of the NEC, while acknowledging the rift among aggrieved members, which has acted as a setback to the party, say there is a need to put past grievances aside. Idong Joseph reports.
The much-awaited National Executive Council meeting of Nigeria's People's Democratic Party has just been concluded in Abuja. While it was hoped that the meeting will address the leadership crisis that has rocked the party since the party's primary election, the issue was not given relevance as key stakeholders called for effort to unite the party.
It is imperative that we set aside personal differences and work together in the spirit of fraternity and solidarity to find common ground.
There's also need to constitute a reconciliation committee to unite our aggrieved members, especially those that fell out during the last primaries, and also election. It is better late than never.
After a closed-door session which lasted about 30 minutes, with all 353 members present, the party approved the constitution of a reconciliation committee to help ensure the stability of the party. It also approved the date for conducting congresses nationwide.
The timetable for primaries and schedule of activities between the months of June and August 2024. The NEC approved the reconstitution of the disciplinary and reconciliation committees of the party.
The NEC also urged the current government to find lasting solutions to the insecurity challenges and address the escalating hardship on citizens.
NEC, after due consideration, demand that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu should urgently convene a special National Security Council meeting to provide a holistic solution and measures to curb the disturbing insecurity. NEC further demands that the federal government should review all policies and programs which are stifling the economy and suffocating effect on the lives of citizens.
The 98th National Executive Council meeting was attended by two former Vice Presidents of Nigeria, Atiku Abubakar and Namadi Sambo, present and past governors of the party, and principal officers of the National Assembly, among others. It is hoped that the outcome of this meeting positions the party as a much-needed viable opposition in future. In Abuja for News Central, I am Idong Joseph.
Many thanks, Idong. To discuss this now, I am joined by a political analyst, Osigwe Omo Ikiroda. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure for having me today.
With a just concluded meeting, what is your take on the chances of the acting national chairman, Umar Damagun, retaining his position?
From what we're saying, we can started even seeing celebrations from the camp of the former River State governor, which is the FCC minister, Nathan Wike, which is showing signs that their own side of their own faction, which is supporting the acting national chairman, may have their way. Because if you look at this whole thing, it's a leadership struggle, not just for the power of the party, but for the soul of the party. And it's all towards the 2027 general election, which is looming ahead. So I believe, from what I'm saying today, from the meeting we've had today, the man looks good to go, the man looks good to go, from what we're seeing today. But we should understand that this conflict is stemming from personal motivation, which is arising from the last presidential elections between which Wike lose to Atiku Abubakar and still be betrayed by not getting the presidential slot by Atiku. And Atiku has his own entitlement, he has his own entitlement to the presidential ticket. So these are conflicting issues that the party really needs to sit down, like you said, to reconcile themselves before they get more damage. They have more damages to the party. But for now, it looks healthy.
The party constitution emphasizes regional balance. How do you see the argument for a North Central chairman being weighed against Damagun's performance?
Yes, but according to the other side of the divide, what they are saying is that Ayocha Hayu's case is still in court. So as long as the case is still in court, the acting national chairman, who is currently acting, there's nothing they can do because there's no constitutional arrangement to say how long the acting national chairman should be there. And the other side is calling for zoning that he should go back to the North Central region, which was area zone. So I believe it's a constitutional crisis between both sides. So I don't know how they can be able to solve that. But both sides have their own egos and their own ambitions within the party that is currently working the crisis in the party. So some of all these things are just bringing forth a smoke screen, all towards the battle for 2027.
Do you believe the 60 House of Representatives members calling for Damagu's removal present a significant force within the party to make any impact?
From what is going on, the impact it has not been felt. It has not been felt because most of them, the northern leaders have come to pass a vote of confidence on the acting national chairman as in variance to what the rest members did earlier on. So I think it's an issue that should be settled with a reconciliatory move. But from what we are saying, it seems Wike has a very, very strong influence over the party, and it's only why we should have so stronger influence over the party, being an appointee of the APC. But I don't know, the case is all about...
Yeah, I was actually going to ask your thoughts on Wike's presence and the controversy around him working for this administration and also being in the opposition. You can speak on that for, say, 30 seconds, please.
Okay, good. What I feel is that the Rivers State governor, which is Ubara, is not playing his part well, because I think his issue has taken over the leadership role of the PDP from Rivers State from Wike by now. So there's something wrong there, because Wike has so much influence, and most of the top party excellence from what we are seeing there with Wike, because you can see today they did not even discuss the issue, and that was what was raising tensions over this next meeting. So I think Wike's influence is getting waxing stronger by the day. It's waxing very, very strong by the day, and the party seems little they can do about it. And it goes a lot to show that Wike has a very good relationship with the party, the top excellence of the party. That is why it can keep having his way.
All right, Asiwe, thank you very much for speaking with us. We appreciate your time.
Thank you very much, I'm grateful.
There has been a tragedy in the Gundutse community located in the Kura local government area of Kano State, where several families have been thrown into mourning following the loss of about 45 members of the community to unknown illness. Families of the deceased say the illness starts with a severe headache followed by body pain, running stomach, with an attendant rise in temperature of the victims before they finally give up the ghost. News Central visited the community, which is an hour drive from the city center, to investigate the situation and the mystery illness which has left many in pain. We will bring you more on this in our subsequent bulletins. Now, every city in Nigeria is challenged not only by infrastructure deficit, but also by the social menace of mentally ill people roaming the streets. Some states at different times used some rather poor approaches to dislodge them from the major cities. News Center's Chinwe Ugele reports.
Families abandon their loved ones with mental illnesses to constitute nuisances on the streets and roads of cities and communities all over Nigeria, with the government doing little or nothing to arrest the situation.
The mad people is very many everywhere. And sometimes if you go this side, they pursue them. That place where they come from sooner, they see they pursue them. So we don't know how we go do that. Taking care of those people is very good because it will give positive impact to the society.
In 1989, Nkechi Conwell, a missionary, established the Amudo Itombozo Mental Health Facility to help reduce the number of mentally challenged people roaming the streets.
Over 1,200 residents have since recovered and returned to their families. And presently we have about 60 people undergoing rehabilitation here.
This facility, however, belongs to the church, and the inmates are selected strictly by the management, making it difficult for people to send their family members there. Beyond the rehabilitation of these persons, the need to equip them with skills cannot be overlooked.
I want to make them try to learn something by themselves.
All I need is that any other skill acquisition, okay, help. Time that thing neji push ha gawa ga me ha Yoro, he has something doing. And when you can do to that thing, on ogaga apokwa.
It is not true that somebody who has a mental health problem cannot work. It is not true that the person cannot live in a family.
Wife of Abia State Governor Mrs. Priscilla Oti wants the challenged to fit into the society effortlessly upon release.
In the average reaction, when somebody sees a mentally ill, sometimes you try to avoid them, but the fact that they can be rehabilitated and become regular members of the society again, I mean, behoves on us to do this, to support a facility.
Apart from getting the mentally challenged off the streets, stakeholders ought to ensure that they are well empowered with skills to help them navigate after rehabilitation. In Omahefo News Central, Chinwe Ugele.
It is no news that women are valuable in every sphere of life and no less in agriculture. It is on this ground that the Adiola Aziz Care Foundation, in partnership with Harvest, decided to empower female farmers in Ogun State, Nigeria's southwest region. News Center's Bettina Uweli reports.
Women account for 75% of the farming population in Nigeria, according to the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development. Even though women constitute a large portion of the farming population, women's possibilities in agriculture are hindered by formal and traditional roles.
We are gathered to celebrate our women's efforts in promoting a better society through agriculture and food production. We are gathered, number two, we are gathered to collectively empower the women in agriculture through the transformative power of technology. We are also gathered to provide training and education to promote the efficiency and productivity of women in agribusiness.
The Agritech event held in Ijebu-Ode, Ogun State, in commemoration of the International Women's Day 2024. It had Ogun State's First Lady, as well as the State Commissioner for Agriculture in attendance, and they both agree that women are of vital importance to rural economies as they are responsible for between 60% and 80% of food production in developing countries.
It is important for us to recognize the critical role women play in our ability to achieve food security in Nigeria. And while women play a dominant role in most value chains, the financial gains of women in these sectors is still much less than men. This is primarily because while women make up a larger percentage of labor force in agriculture, they are less likely to be the one paid for production, especially among smallholder farmers.
We are not excluding the men from opportunities. This event is an agri-tech event that is focused on women. We call that over 70% of our smallholder farmers are women. And women are also the ones that are responsible for taking care of the household when it comes to the children upbringing and to ensuring that everything goes very well. So we cannot afford to relegate them.
Women now practice agriculture more, an industry otherwise seen as male-dominated.
Enlightening me on how to grow my business, how to use my products and everything, how to also retail them and sell my products to people like restaurants and other places, because I deal on chicken products.
I've learned that it's good for you to always keep record. Then you should know how effective the business is. You should be able to see whether the business is sustainable. Then it has to be cost effective and be profitable.
Empowering women in agriculture is therefore crucial to build more resilient and sustainable food systems in the country. In Ijebu-Ode, Ogun State, for News Central, Bettina Uweli.
Kenya's President William Ruto has announced that the country's Defense Chief General Francis Ogola and 9 other senior military officers have died in a helicopter crash about 400 kilometers northwest of the capital, Nairobi. The president, who had earlier convened an urgent meeting of the National Security Council after news of the accident emerged, said 9 other gallant military personnel on board were also killed, while 2 survived. It is disclosed that the Kenyan Air Force has dispatched an air investigation team to establish the cause of the crash. President Ruto noted that the helicopter crashed shortly after taking off from Chesongon, where he and his entourage had been visiting a school.
I am deeply saddened to announce the passing on of General Francis Omondi Ogola, the Chief of the Kenya Defense Forces. Together with him in the crash were 11 other gallant military personnel, 9 who also passed on with him, and 2 survivors.
The Business Desk has today's stories.
Business News in association with Money Master PSB, the easy way to master your money.
Welcome to Business News. The Chief Executive Officer of Binance, Richard Tang, has stated that the company is closely cooperating with Nigerian authorities following the detention of its head of financial crime compliance. He stated this at the Token 2049 crypto conference in Dubai. The case against the executive, Tigran Kamparian, and another Binance official has been adjourned until May the 2nd. Both individuals are accused of laundering over $35 million. The detention occurred after Anjawala and Kamparian traveled to Nigeria following the country's ban on several cryptocurrency trading websites. Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana revealed plans to utilize the foreign exchange contingency reserve account to alleviate the country's debt burden. In preparation for the post-election budget, he's considering tax increases and expenditure cuts. Godongwana ruled out financial support from the account for struggling state energy firms such as Eskom and Transnet, as debt service costs have become a major concern. The next budget, scheduled for February 2025, may involve more significant adjustments than the previous one, signaling a commitment to fiscal consolidation. The government also plans to consolidate various social spending measures and grants. Potential risks to economic growth include escalating Middle East tensions and intensifying power outages. However, recent droughts are not expected to impact food inflation at this time. According to the Federation of the Egyptian Banks, Egypt's reserve money, known as M0, decreased from 1.689 trillion Egyptian pounds at the end of December 2023 to 1.683 trillion Egyptian pounds at the end of March 2024. M0 comprises currency in circulation outside the vault of the Central Bank of Egypt and banks' deposits in local currency. The Central Bank utilizes M0 as an intermediate operating target to manage local liquidity as part of its monetary policy. The total reserve money currently stands at 1.683 trillion Egyptian pounds. And finally, according to the African Risk Capacity, a drought caused by the El Nino weather pattern is expected to result in insurance payouts to 4 southern African countries: Malawi, Zambia, Zimbabwe, and Mozambique, which obtained coverage through an agency of the African Union, will receive payments after the harvesting season. The El Nino phenomenon has severely affected corn harvest in the region due to dry and hot weather. Zimbabwe is projected to yield roughly 60% less corn than last year, prompting the declaration of a national state of disaster in Zimbabwe, Malawi, and Zambia. However, it is unlikely that the payments will fully meet the region's needs, as the disbursements to these countries in 2022 amounted to $20.9 million. These are the business news we're tracking at this hour. Thank you for watching. I am Perpetua Fasami Peter. The news continues shortly. Bye for now.
Business News in association with Money Master PSB, the easy way to master your money.
Let's now get update of today's sports stories from our sports desk.
Sports Update, brought to you by Corn Oil. Corn Oil, we go the extra mile.
And in sports, Nigerian forward Victor Boniface has been nominated for the 2023-2024 Bundesliga Team of the Season. The nominees were announced on the Bundesliga's X handle on Thursday. Besides Boniface, Granit Xhaka and Bayern Munich and England striker Harry Kane were also nominated. The final Bundesliga Team of the Season will be decided via votes by fans. Now, after 3 months' absence due to injury, Boniface returned to help Leverkusen clinch the Bundesliga title for the first time in their history. He then scored and had an assist in the 5-0 win against Werder Bremen, which sealed the title for Xabi Alonso's side. Now, the Nigerian forward has now scored 11 goals in Leverkusen's history. Historic triumph, and added another 5 in the Europa League. Moving on from the German Bundesliga, now let's talk about the former Black Stars winger Larry Kingston. He has been named as the head coach of the Black Starlets, Ghana's under-17 national team. Now, Kingston previously served as an assistant coach of the team under Abdul Karim Zito following their appointment in December 2022. Now, the Ghana Football Association has entrusted Kingston with the leadership of the under-17 team, succeeding Zito in the role. Kingston, who was capped by Ghana 42 times, will be supported by former Heart of Oak captain Jacob Nete and Nana Ajimang. The newly appointed technical team has been tasked with assembling a strong squad for the upcoming tournaments, including the WAFU B Under-17 Cup of Nations, held in Accra in May, as well as the African Under-17 Cup of Nations. In athletics, London Marathon will pay homage to Kelvin Kiptum, the world marathon record holder who died following a car crash in February. Kiptum is the defending London Marathon champion. Another athlete will take his place in the field, having been scheduled to feature at last weekend's Rotterdam Marathon before his untimely demise. The marathon great announced himself on the grand stage at London last year when he stormed the field to win the race in 2 hours, 1 minute and 25 seconds, missing Eliud Kipchoge's world record by just 16 seconds before he went to Chicago and lowered it by clocking 2 hours and 35 seconds. Organizers of Sunday's race therefore plan to honor him, as there will be a 30-second round of applause, while a video of Kiptum's life and performances will also be played. Unlike in Rotterdam last week, Kiptum's family will not be present in London. And still in athletics, world record holder Tigisa Sefa hopes to set a new women's only best time at the TCS London Marathon on Sunday and believes it will be tougher to win than this year's Paris Olympics. The Ethiopian runner smashed the world record in September when she finished the Berlin Marathon in 2 hours, 11 minutes and 53 seconds. Next in Sefa's sight is success in a maiden London Marathon and the women's only record, which is 2 hours, 17 minutes and 1 second, set by Kenyan Mary Keitana at the 2017 event. Now, Asefa took part in a pre-race press duty on Thursday and was joined at the media center in St. James's Park by star Kenyan trio of Bridget Kosgei, Ruth Chepnitich, and Perez Chepchicher. And that's a wrap on Sport Updates. I am Udoka and Joko. Thank you for watching.
Entertainment news in association with Glow Unlimited.
Welcome to Entertainment News. Nigerian superstar Davido takes a monumental step forward by partnering with United Masters for his newly established label, 9+ Records. This groundbreaking collaboration aims to cultivate emerging talent across Africa, with Davido leading artist development and curation. Under the partnership, both teams will work closely to introduce and nurture new artists, expanding Davido's influence in the music industry. Expressing excitement about this venture, Davido states, "I am proud to partner with Steve and the United Masters team. This marks an exciting chapter for David globally." Congratulations to Davido. This is definitely big news for Africa and particularly Nigeria. You know, David stays making big moves and positioning Nigerian music on the global stage. And now away from the continent. Reports suggest that Kanye West intervened in an incident where his partner, Bianca Censori, was allegedly assaulted at the Chateau Marmont in Los Angeles. According to a statement from West representative, Censori was subjected to physical and sexual assault by an unidentified man. Law enforcement officers responded to the scene following a reported battery incident. While West allegedly punched the assailant, he left before authorities arrived. Now, the man reportedly did not sustain injuries requiring medical attention. Interestingly, West has previously been involved in similar incidents, including one in January 2022, where he admitted to confronting an individual exploiting his image for profit. He was not charged in that instance due to lack of sufficient evidence for prosecution. And that's all we'll take on entertainment tonight. We'll take a short break, and when we are back, we'll bring you the updates on what's trending tonight. Moving away from entertainment news, Abuja is the highlight today in our latest trending stories. This is because the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission has responded to reported unfair practices by sealing the 4E supermarket in Abuja. This response has sparked criticism on social media, with many Nigerians expressing concerns over the tragic approach of the law enforcement agencies. While the FCCPC's intervention highlights a commitment to safeguarding consumer rights and promoting fair competition, some citizens argue that such actions could potentially aggravate existing economic challenges. Critics emphasize the need for more strategic and holistic approaches by law enforcement agencies to address underlying issues effectively. Let us read some reactions to this story on X. Collins is saying, conducting price enforcement in Abuja supermarkets or even Nigeria at large might seem like a commendable move on the surface, but it is merely scratching the surface of a much deeper issue. While superficial actions like this may garner praise, they fail to address the systemic issues that lead to price gouging and exploitation of consumers. What about the underlying factors driving inflation and economic hardship? What about the lack of regulations to hold businesses accountable for fair pricing practices? This is nothing more than a brand aid solution to a gaping wound, and until meaningful reforms are implemented, consumers will suffer at hands of unscrupulous businesses. This is a disgraceful attempt to placate the public while avoiding real accountability. Another tweet from God's Will is saying, what have they done about the price of fuel and clearing goods from customs since their dollars are now down? Shaibu is saying, the question I will ask is this: these officials that are sealing the shops, if they are the shop owners, how would they feel? This is not the solution to bringing down the prices of goods. Our last tweet is from Sleek Sloan, saying, in the throes of a struggling economy, battling hyperinflation, closing down businesses that employs people seems like a sound economic idea. The genesis around these organizations needs to be studied. That's quite a sarcastic tweet right there. And that's why we'll call it a wrap today on what's trending tonight. You can share your thoughts across our social media platforms at News Central TV. I am Jadel Simon.
And that's a wrap tonight. But before we go, let's take another look at some of the big stories. Former Kogi State Governor Yahaya Bello has been declared wanted by the EFCC. APC petitions IG demands arrest of masterminds of Ganduje's suspension. PDP has urged President Tinubu to overhaul economic team. We also told you that Kenya's defense chief senior officers have been killed in a helicopter crash. Do send your eyewitness report to the number on the screen, or you could follow us on social media at News Central TV. To do that, you could watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, Star Times channel 274, Avo TV, and YouTube. Thanks for watching. Good night.